Multiple immunity. Former Naughty Dog lighting artist Gabriel Betancourt sparked intense speculation when he revealed a conversation with creator Neil Druckmann about immunity in the Last of Us universe. According to Betancourt in an interview with Kiwi Talks, Druckmann allegedly stated that several people are immune to the cordyceps infection, not just Ellie. Betancourt claimed Druckmann described a whole congregation of immune individuals existing somewhere in this post-apocalyptic world. This conversation reportedly occurred during development, though the exact timing remains unspecified. The theory gains credibility from events in The Last of Us Part 2, where Abby and Lev travel to Santa Barbara searching for regrouped Fireflies. The game confirms approximately 200 former Fireflies have gathered on Catalina Island, establishing a new base of operations. Fans theorize the Fireflies may have found other immune individuals since the Salt Lake Hospital massacre, which would explain why they regrouped with renewed purpose. In Season 1, Dr. Jerry Anderson claimed Ellie was unique, but he never explicitly confirmed she was the only immune person in existence. The theory suggests multiple immune people could completely recontextualize Joel's decision to save Ellie. If she wasn't humanity's only hope, his choice becomes less about sacrificing the world and more about refusing to let the Fireflies kill a child without consent. This remains unconfirmed speculation based on a private conversation, but it could become a major plot point for Season 3 or a potential 4th season if the show continues beyond the game's current storyline. Seraphite Expansion. Season 3 will feature the massive Washington Liberation Front assault on the Seraphite Island, and production details suggest this storyline will be significantly expanded beyond the game. In The Last of Us Part 2, WLF leader Isaac Dixon orders a full-scale invasion to eliminate the religious cult permanently. Season 2 Episode 7 showed Ellie witnessing WLF soldiers boarding boats for a large military operation. When Ellie later washes ashore on the Seraphite Island, she overhears WLF forces discussing assailants already on the island. The battle results in massive casualties on both sides, with Abby and Lev caught directly in the middle of this war during their 3 days in Seattle. The theory that this will be expanded gains credibility from HBO's construction of large outdoor sets in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, featuring weathered structures, boats, and extensive blue screen setups for visual effects. Leaked set photos from March 2026 show apocalyptic island environments suggesting major action sequences. The casting of Lee Jun-lee as Miriam, Lev's mother and a devout Seraphite, indicates the show will explore this religious community more deeply than the game did. Fans speculate Season 3 could become the equivalent of Season 1's Kansas City battle or Season 2's subway sequence. The Seraphite culture represents one of the game's most underdeveloped elements, giving the show an opportunity to flesh out this community beyond just portraying them as violent cultists. This expansion could show how desperate people create meaning and structure in an apocalyptic world, while the WLF versus Seraphite war mirrors the Ellie versus Abby conflict, as cycles of revenge destroy everyone involved. Lev's background. The casting choices for Season 3 strongly suggest Lev and Yara's backstory will receive significant expansion beyond their limited game appearances. Lev is a 13-year-old transgender boy, played by 15-year-old Kiriana Crater from Star Wars Skeleton Crew, while his older sister Yara is played by Michelle Mao from Bridgerton and Goosebumps. In the game, Lev's mother appears as an unnamed character in one brief scene before Lev accidentally kills her in self-defense. The show cast accomplished actress Lee Jun-lee, fresh from the horror film Sinners, specifically for this role, and gave the character a name. Miriam is a devout Seraphite, who banished Lev after he revealed his gender identity, then branded both Lev and Yara as apostates, leading the Seraphites to hunt them. Variety reported this casting suggests a significantly expanded role compared to the game's minimal screen time. The theory proposes the show will explore Miriam's religious fanaticism and how it drove her to reject her own children. Possible flashbacks could show Lev and Yara's childhood growing up within the Seraphite community, providing context for their eventual escape. This addresses common criticism that the game didn't develop the Seraphites enough as antagonists. The Last of Us excels at demonstrating how ordinary people become capable of terrible things in desperate circumstances. Expanding Miriam's story could illustrate how religious extremism in post-apocalyptic conditions leads parents to abandon their children for ideology. This theory remains unconfirmed, but gains significant weight from the decision to cast an established actress rather than an unknown performer for what could have been a minor role. Final season. HBO executives and showrunner Craig Mazin have sent contradictory signals about whether Season 3 will end the series. In a May 2025 Collider interview, Mazin explicitly stated there is no way to complete the narrative in a 3rd season, calling a fourth season the most likely outcome. However, HBO CEO Casey Bloys told Deadline in February 2026 that it certainly seems like Season 3 will be the final season, though he emphasized they will defer to the showrunners on this decision. The theory suggests Mazin may be reconsidering his earlier position and planning an extended Season 3, possibly featuring 10 to 12 episodes instead of the usual 7 to 9, to wrap up the story without splitting it across 2 seasons. Season 1 featured 9 episodes, while Season 2 had 7. Mazin confirmed Season 3 will be significantly larger than Season 2, but the exact episode count remains unannounced. The central issue is whether Season 3 can properly cover both Abby's entire Seattle story and the crucial Santa Barbara epilogue, where Ellie and Abby have their final confrontation. Some fans theorize ending at Season 3 would feel rushed and shortchange the character development both protagonists require. This uncertainty reveals genuine creative tension between satisfying storytelling and practical production limitations. Cramming everything into Season 3 could accelerate the pacing uncomfortably, but stretching to a fourth season means another 2 to 3 year wait for viewers. The decision directly impacts how much screen time Abby receives for character development before the climactic final confrontation. This theory has real possibility because even the creators seem genuinely unsure which path serves the story best, making it one of the most significant unresolved questions heading into production.
Joel returns. Pedro Pascal's Joel might return in Season 3 despite his death in Season 2's second episode, and showrunner Craig Mazin hasn't ruled it out. Mazin told The Hollywood Reporter that a Joel flashback featuring his brother Tommy isn't off the table for the upcoming season. The Last of Us Part 2 game includes several crucial Joel flashbacks, showing his evolving relationship with Ellie during the years between Part 1 and Part 2. These flashbacks reveal the pivotal moment when Ellie discovered Joel's lie about the Fireflies and the vaccine, fundamentally damaging their relationship. The theory proposes Season 3 could incorporate these key flashbacks during episodes where Ellie appears, giving Pascal more screen time and reminding viewers of the bond that made Joel's death so devastating. This would maintain the emotional core of the series, even as the perspective shifts primarily to Abby's story. The flashbacks could provide powerful contrast between Ellie's life with Joel versus her all-consuming revenge quest that dominates Season 2. While Mazin's comment suggests this is merely being considered rather than confirmed, the theory has legitimate possibility because the game effectively used these flashbacks to deepen the emotional impact. Including them would help viewers who haven't played the game understand why Ellie's grief runs so deep, and why she's willing to sacrifice everything for vengeance. However, this remains pure speculation until production details emerge, and it's entirely possible Season 3 could skip these flashbacks entirely to maintain focus on Abby's perspective. By the way, if this type of content interests you, I create videos like this regularly. Subscribing would really help me out. Bracelet Theory. The ambiguous ending of The Last of Us Part 2 spawned the Bracelet Theory, one of the most debated interpretations among fans regarding Ellie and Dina's relationship. In the game, Ellie returns to their farm after sparing Abby in Santa Barbara, but Dina and baby JJ are gone. All their belongings have been removed, while Ellie's possessions remain untouched, suggesting Dina left intentionally rather than being forced out. The game ends with Ellie leaving the empty farm alone, her destination unknown. The Bracelet Theory argues that reconciliation may have already occurred before the game's final scene. Fans noticed Ellie isn't wearing Dina's bracelet during the Santa Barbara sequence, but she's wearing it when she returns to the farm in the epilogue. Supporters theorize Ellie and Dina must have met between Santa Barbara and the farm return, with Dina giving her the bracelet back as a gesture of forgiveness or continuing connection. Some fans speculate Dina returned to the Jackson settlement with JJ, where she has established friends and community support from characters like Maria. Season 3, or a potential fourth season, could definitively resolve whether they reunite or remain permanently separated. This theory has never been confirmed by Naughty Dog or the show's creators, making it pure fan interpretation of visual details. However, it has possibility because the show has significantly expanded Dina's role, with actress Isabella Merced receiving more screen time and character development than the game provided. The show's investment in Dina suggests her story isn't finished, giving weight to theories about eventual reconciliation. The ambiguous ending intentionally allows viewers to decide for themselves whether Ellie finds happiness, but a television adaptation might choose to provide more explicit closure than the game offered. Santa Barbara.
If Season 3 becomes the final season,
it must include the crucial Santa Barbara epilogue, where Ellie and Abby's confrontation reaches its devastating conclusion. After Abby and Lev successfully contact the Fireflies on Catalina Island via radio, they are immediately ambushed and captured by a slaver group called the Rattlers. The Rattlers tie them to wooden posts on the beach, leaving them exposed to the elements where they slowly starve for months. Ellie tracks Abby to Santa Barbara after Tommy arrives at her farm and convinces her to resume the revenge quest she had abandoned. When Ellie finally locates them, she finds both Abby and Lev severely emaciated and near death. Despite Abby's refusal to fight in her weakened condition, Ellie threatens to kill Lev unless Abby complies, forcing a brutal confrontation between two exhausted, traumatized people. Ellie nearly drowns Abby in the ocean, but experiences a flashback of Joel smiling and chooses to let her go, breaking the cycle of revenge. The theory debate centers on which season will actually cover this content. If Season 3 is truly the final season, Santa Barbara must happen in the last 2 or 3 episodes. The alternative theory suggests Santa Barbara is actually Season 4 content if the show receives renewal. This remains unconfirmed because the creators themselves haven't decided the structure. The theory has strong possibility in either direction, depending on final episode count. Santa Barbara represents Ellie's absolute lowest point and her final opportunity at redemption through mercy. Whether Season 3 can properly service both Abby's complete Seattle journey and this emotionally complex epilogue determines if a 4th season becomes necessary to tell the story properly. Part 3. Neil Druckmann revealed he has developed a concept for The Last of Us Part 3 that connects all 3 games through a unified narrative through line. In the February 2024 documentary, Grounded 2, The Making of The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann made a significant statement about the franchise's future. He explained that for years he hadn't been able to find the right concept, but recently that changed. Druckmann clarified he doesn't have a complete story yet, but he does have a concept that excites him as much as the first and second games. He emphasized it would be its own distinct thing, while maintaining a through line connecting all 3 installments. Druckmann added that it feels like there's probably one more chapter to this story worth telling. However, in a March 2025 interview, he told fans not to bet on more The Last of Us games, creating confusion about the project's status. Naughty Dog is currently focused on Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which was revealed at the Game Awards 2024. Former Naughty Dog game director Vineet Agarwal revealed he moved to an unnamed future game project after The Last of Us Online was cancelled, leading to speculation this could be Part 3 in early development. Druckmann's 2025 Instagram post showing old Joel and Ellie sketches with a caption about the few stops that remain on the road ahead further fueled fan theories. Speculation suggests Part 3 could involve the Catalina Island Fireflies, potentially explore other immune people, or bring Ellie's immunity back into relevance. This theory has legitimate possibility, because Druckmann's specific wording suggests genuine creative planning rather than vague speculation. A Part 3 game would likely become Season 4 or 5 of the television series, extending the adaptation beyond current source material. The through line connecting all 3 games could involve immunity, the Firefly's evolution, or the ongoing moral question of individual versus collective good that defines the entire franchise. Changed ending. Some fans theorize Season 3 might alter the game's ending to give Ellie and Abby different fates than their ambiguous game conclusion. The Last of Us show has been remarkably faithful to the games, making major narrative changes unlikely. However, the show has made select alterations that improved or clarified certain story elements. Mel's death scene was significantly more graphic and emotionally brutal in the show compared to the game's version. Bill and Frank's backstory received substantial expansion and changes in Season 1, Episode 3, transforming them from minor characters into one of the season's emotional highlights. The theory suggests the show could modify the final Ellie versus Abby fight to make Ellie's decision to spare Abby clearer or provide different emotional resolution. Some fans desperately want Ellie to return to Dina with confirmed reconciliation, rather than the game's ambiguous, melancholy ending that left many viewers unsatisfied. A more radical version of this theory proposes Abby could die in the show's version, creating a fundamentally different ending, though this seems highly unlikely given the show's faithfulness. Craig Mazin has explicitly stated the show will not overtake the games, suggesting major departures from established canon won't occur. Counter theory suggests if Part 3 is genuinely in development, the show must maintain the same ending to avoid narrative conflicts with future game content. This theory has minimal possibility of major changes, but moderate possibility of small clarifications or additions that enhance emotional impact without altering core plot points. The question reflects viewers' mixed reactions to Part 2's deliberately uncomfortable and unresolved conclusion. While significant ending changes seem improbable given the show's track record of respecting source material, the tension between artistic integrity and audience satisfaction creates space for speculation about potential modifications. Firefly Motivations. A persistent fan theory questions whether the Firefly's vaccine quest was genuinely about saving humanity, or actually about seizing political power and control. In both the game and show, the Fireflies operate as a revolutionary militia fighting against the oppressive Fedra military that controls quarantine zones. They position themselves as freedom fighters, attempting to restore democracy and civilian government. However, the theory argues their true motivation was overthrowing Fedra to install themselves as the new ruling authority. Marlene's decision to kill Ellie without obtaining her consent demonstrates an ends justify means authoritarianism that mirrors the very system they claim to oppose. The theory notes the Fireflies frequently bombed civilian areas and destabilized functioning safe zones, causing casualties among innocent people. If the vaccine had succeeded, the Fireflies would have controlled the only cure in the entire post-apocalyptic world, giving them ultimate leverage over all surviving communities who would desperately need access. Some interpretations suggest Joel sensed this underlying corruption, partially motivating his decision to stop them. However, this contradicts Neil Druckmann's explicit statements that Joel's choice was purely emotional regarding Ellie, rather than philosophical concerns about Firefly intentions. Fans theorize the Fireflies regrouping on Catalina Island might have learned from past mistakes and reformed their approach. Alternative theory suggests these Catalina Fireflies are even more desperate and potentially dangerous after years of failure. This theory has possibility because Season 3 could explore Firefly motivations more deeply than the game did, providing nuance about internal factions, true believers versus opportunists, and legitimate questions about who should control a potential cure. While Druckmann's confirmation about vaccine efficacy undercuts justifications for Joel's actions, the theory about Firefly power hunger adds moral complexity worth exploring in a television format that allows deeper character and faction development than games typically provide. If you found this valuable, consider subscribing so you never miss new content. Thanks for watching.